Hi, welcome to my channel. I've got something a little bit different today. Here I'm sitting in the beautiful Edinburgh, slightly damp, and I'm here with Gavin from Neatebox, and we're going to be talking about a couple of solutions that Gavin has created for people with a disability. We're going to do two films. The first one today is about something called Button. All will become clear in a minute. And the second film is about Welcome, and that will follow on in a couple of weeks' time. So stay tuned, and we're going to find out all these wonderful things that Gavin's been creating. Hi, Gavin.
Hello,
so thank
Jenny.
you very much for having a little chat with me today. We're going to be talking about something called Button, which is, as I understand it, a solution that you've created for people when they're out and about, walking around their local area. We'll talk a little bit about what got you here, but if we could start off by telling everybody what Button is.
Yeah, certainly. First of all, thank you very much indeed for the interview. I love talking to you, and it's been brilliant already. But the premise for pretty much everything that I've done has come from 18 years working for Guide Dogs for the Blind. And one of the things that I had seen during that time was when one of the guide dog owners I was working with went up to a pedestrian crossing, not only did they have to find the button, they then had to press it, and then they had to stay next to it, especially when there was no audible signal. So they would hold onto the tactile cone, which meant sometimes they were too far away from the curb edge prior to crossing the road. And I came up with a solution which was so simple, which was the premise was, how can I press the button with my mobile phone?
Okay, wow. So something really obvious, but nobody had ever done it before.
No, first in the world. Fantastic.
So how did you get here? How did you come from where you were before to coming up with this idea?
Yeah, so a very brief potted history of my life.
Yes.
Guide Dogs for the Blind for 18 years. Working through a time when digital became really quite interesting and mobile, 2003, 2004, increasingly people were coming to train with guide dogs and taking out iPhones and all other sorts of bits of kit. And I was just getting really excited about what the future could bring. I didn't have any intention of actually having a company that came up with solutions, but eventually, the more study I did, the more I realized that nobody else was, and that I could influence society and I could influence the way that people live their lives and improve some of the issues that they were encountering on a daily basis.
So going back to Button itself, clearly your first inspiration was for working with people with visual impairment, but I guess there's quite a large population of people who would benefit from this. Who do you see being able to use this app for their advantage?
Yeah, so as you say, I was thinking about the 5,000 guide dog owners at the start. With 13 million people in the United Kingdom with a disability, who else could use this? And the more I looked at it, the more I realised that there were people in wheelchairs, people with mobility scooters, increasingly people with mobility scooters, people with walking sticks, even people pushing a buggy with two buggies with children in, or somebody carrying lots of bags. And I thought, well, I could have a solution here that helps all those people, but even beyond that, I realised that I could help the traffic industry, the traffic sector, because this was a massive problem for them. They didn't necessarily know there was a problem, but I then started generating this whole idea that I wasn't just going to help people who were disabled in some way, but I was also going to help the other side of society who had a problem in delivering solutions to them. And that became a social revolution, if you will.
Yeah, excellent. Because from my own personal experience, one of the things that really attracted me about it, from the people that I know, is somebody who maybe has a physical impairment and can't physically touch the button. Normally, somebody who's supporting them would do that. It's giving them independence in a really small but really important way. So instead of that supporter always having to go and they can do it themselves.
There was a day when we installed in a crossing not far away from where we're sitting now, and two young chaps, both with cerebral palsy, who had never been able to press a button, or had found it incredibly hard to press a button, came up to that crossing and were able to press the button automatically for the first time, not relying on somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah.
And I buzzed. I had goosebumps, and it was phenomenal. It was an amazing moment.
Yeah. I think we should talk about how it works as well. It's an app.
It's an app you download. It's free. Nothing we produce ever costs the user. Disability should not be taxed. So everything that you download that is made by Neatebox is free, totally free. It's called Button by Neatebox. Neatebox. And if people download it, get the app running, they stand next to a crossing, they wait a couple of seconds, the app just presses the button for them. That's all it does.
Brilliant. So I'll make sure that we put the link to that down below the film. And is that for Android and iPhones?
It's on iOS and Android. We needed to cover the most that we possibly could.
Brilliant. So it's literally just a case of downloading it onto your phone and standing by a crossing.
That's it.
Fantastic. I like things that are simple. Now, I'm guessing that it doesn't just involve an app. It involves some kind of hardware in the crossing.
Indeed. We install a small piece of hardware into the crossing.
Okay.
It takes about 15 minutes to install. Local authorities and traffic sector providers, service providers, they just do they carry out the installation, 15, 20 minutes per crossing. And we can install it wherever people want it, depending on whether the local authority or council involved is forward-thinking and excited about changing it. Now, we have, thankfully, several. Largs, through Transerve, which is a subsidiary of Transport Scotland, they installed it in Largs, and we won the Accessible Project of the Year, Accessibility Project of the Year this year. And next week I'm on my way to London because we've been nominated for 2 National Transport Awards. So more and more people are going to know that this is a solution. But as I mentioned, this is about where people want to install it. So they tell us where they want it. We do all the hard work. We approach the council and the local authority and we say, we've had 1, 2, 5, 10, 1,000 people say they want it. And we will use that social empowerment to actually go and change the world. Okay,
so how can anybody who's watching this think, yep, that's for me, I need one of those near me? How do they go about letting you know that they'd like one?
Very easy. You've downloaded the app already. You go to settings, click on settings. It will say request venue. You put in a location of the crossing you want it installed in, and we'll do the rest.
Brilliant. Now, I think there are various things that you can adapt on the app to suit you. You can sort of personalise it a little bit, maybe the time that it waits. Can you explain to me a few things about that?
Yeah, so different people need different lengths of time when they get to the crossing. They might need to set themselves up with their dog, straighten themselves up with a long cane, make sure that their power chair is at right angles or at the very best angle for the slope there might be into the road. So people can actually adjust amount of time they have before it can press the button. So if they wanted to wait 5-10 seconds, they could have it do that 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 20 seconds. So you can be totally secure in the knowledge that when it goes beep, 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 you're ready to go. The other 2 things that we can do on new crossings and increasingly on installations is we can, people will love this, increase crossing times.
Oh, yes.
And we can also turn on an audible signal where that audible signal has been turned off outside of working hours.
Gosh, didn't know that happened.
Yeah,
yeah, cool.
In a residential area, they turn off an audible signal after 10 o'clock at night because people don't want it going off at 2 o'clock in the morning on your way back from the local Wetherspoons.
Yes.
So yeah, but we can turn it on just for that one person who needs it.
And is this something that can only be found in Scotland, or have you gone further afield than that?
Well, we're a Scottish company, and people instantly think, oh, that's just in Scotland.
Yeah.
But we have just installed our first one in Blackburn, on account of the local traffic engineer saying, I would like it.
Right.
So they contacted us and said, we've seen this promoted, we would like it, when can you install it? And it was installed and is now operating in Blackburn. So anywhere in England, and indeed now anywhere in Ireland. So England, anywhere in England as well as Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales and now Southern Ireland.
Brilliant. So you just need people to get in touch with you really, and then we're off.
Download the app. Go to settings, request venue.
Brilliant. So I'm going to put all that information down below the film. I think we'll put a link to that lovely film that you mentioned about the 2 young men pressing the button for the first time, because that's a really amazing film to watch. And then we'll speak again a little bit later about Welcome. But thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thanks.